Hello, hello.
Hi, you must be Jessica.
Yeah, and you must be Pat.
That's
Hello.
right. Yeah,
Fantastic. Very good. So nice to meet you, and it's a pleasure to be here with you. So,
I'm thrilled to be here too, uh,
mhm.
down in my Blacksburg second residence. So,
Wow.
yeah, I was just out ministering to a chestnut tree
Oh,
that, due to my ignorance, became a nest for, I don't know, a vole or something this winter. And
uh,
I saw it. It was like leaning over. The leaves were yellow. I'm like, what's the problem? So I started investigating. And
mm,
so, anyway, I'm
yeah.
hoping I can bring it back to life. So,
Well, I wish you the best of luck. Yeah, those things, once they get down in there and the roots and make lots of holes and stuff, it's tough. Yeah.
yeah, it had created right at the crown, it had created a little, open, blank space.
Uh,
So,
mm.
anyway, I've had that problem before. Part of it's my own fault, but that's a long story. Anyway, so we have
Yeah.
we have to get your PowerPoint. I
Yeah.
haven't done Zoom in a while, and so maybe you know all about it, and you can just tell me what to do.
Well, we can try. So I'm gonna I'm if I could, I'd like to try to share my screen and we can see what
Okay.
that looks like. So um, I'm doing that right now. So do you see a
I
PowerPoint?
do see a PowerPoint.
Yay!
Let me see. I have the participant list up here. Let me get rid of that. It looks great to me. It's I was worried about, using getting full screen, but
Yeah,
it looks like you're
all right.
um and the only other thing is
I'm gonna just see if I can forward. Oh, I think I have to click on it. Oh, yep, I did need to click on it. Yep. Okay. Yep. Perfect. All right. It's functional. That's uh,
great.
sometimes, yeah, you got to click on it. And so I'll probably
Mhm.
stumble with that at the beginning anyway. But
Okay, great. So, um, is this the same woman that did Mar-a-Lago?
yes, she's the
Okay,
original builder of Mar-a-Lago. Uh-huh. Yeah. So,
that's yeah. So, which came first, Hillwood or Mar-a-Lago? Or
no, Mar-a-Lago.
Mar-a-Lago? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, they built that. I believe in the early 30s. I think that's when that was built. Yeah, so she came to Hillwood in 1955. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Okay,
very
I've had the pleasure of visiting there probably 10 or 15 years ago.
Oh, really?
I'm trying to remember. I wonder if it was Four Seasons that went. I'm not sure. Could have been. Um,
I drove by once.
okay. How long have you been there?
At Hillwood, no, over almost 16 years. So
Wow.
yeah, it's been a little while. It's been a while. But I love it. Yeah, that's good. Uh,
So,
Question for you. Did you want, so you guys have like a social half an hour? Is that how
yeah.
things work? Okay.
Yeah, apparently officially starting at 7:30. So, yeah,
Oh,
we have 30 minutes to one other person
okay.
is logged on, but they're all muted
Mhm.
and no video. So, but yeah, we they give a half an hour for people to chat ahead of time.
Okay.
So,
So is it helpful for me to stop sharing so you can do that?
I don't think so.
Oh,
I think we're good.
okay.
Let me go over. I want to go over and see if I'm seeing the um, recording. Actually, I had it start automatically, so it's recording now.
Well, good thing
And
we only said nice things so far.
it's great. And everything's going smoothly. And yeah, I suppose I should turn it off because what do we need a half an hour of um, let's see. I'm always afraid if it isn't broke, don't fix it. So, um, host tools, let's see. If I turn off recording now, um,
Oh, okay. I'm finally unmuted.
Hello.
this is Elizabeth.
Yes.
Oh, hi.
Hi. I thought it was 7, so that's why I'm here early.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was just explaining to Jessica that it's apparently a social half hour until 7:30 when the official start is. So, um,
Yeah. Well, welcome.
so Jessica, do you live nearby Hillwood
Actually, I'm up in Rockville, and right now, I'm actually originally from Northeast Pennsylvania. So there's a lake right by where I grew up. So that is what my background is today. I'm very
okay.
excited about that.
Which part of Northeast PA?
Wilkes-Barre, Scranton area.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was actually born over on the other over in Jersey on the other side of the river, in Sussex County, in Newton, if you have ever heard of that place. So yeah, but we'd go over to Hope and Allentown and
Oh, sure.
Phillipsburg. We had to go through Phillipsburg, so I think there's a bridge there or something. So.
Yeah. Actually, quite a few people when I was growing up would actually work in New Jersey from my hometown. Like they would actually, a lot of them were on, do a lot of tree maintenance. So they would drive and spend the week in New Jersey and then come back for the weekends. That was a big deal.
Yeah, I had I have a cousin, well, cousins there still. They stayed, and then one of them went over to PA for due to the taxes. He felt it was excessive. So, well, I'm curious about your how did you get into horticulture? Did you do that in college, or how did you?
Yeah. Well, really, I think my dad and my grandmother kind of instilled, a love of plants at an early age. And then it wasn't though until college, I was at Penn State University, that I knew people made a career out of it. So
that wasn't discussed before then.
not really. Like I really couldn't vision how that worked really because from where I'm from, that is not an industry really too much. So it was very eye-opening to me. And then I met somebody who was studying plants, and I thought that was so exciting. So yeah, I wanted to do that. And so I graduated with a landscape contracting degree, and actually from there I moved down here to Maryland with a landscaping, like a commercial firm. So I did that for a few years. And then I was really lucky. I was offered a head gardener position in Rochester, New York for a private estate. And so I did that for almost 10 years. And then and I ran my own business for a while. It was very nice, but my husband was ready to come back. His family is all from this area. So fortunately Hillwood had an opening, and I started as a garden section manager, and I became director in 2020. So yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. How many people do you have on staff there then?
When we're fully staffed is 14. Yeah.
Wow,
And then we have a great group of volunteers. We have almost 100 horticulture volunteers. So,
that's fantastic.
yeah,
Wow.
it's
I could use some of that help down here.
uh, we get that a lot actually out in the gardens. Can you come to my house next?
Yeah, right. Yeah, my it's turned into my uh big problem here with is I'll plant something and well, in addition to tremendous deer pressure, um,
Um,
the tall fescue, invades. Well, them and every other weed in the book, you know,
mm,
uh, go in and choke out, especially if it's a small tree or shrub. Will
um,
choke it out, and so
that's tough.
I'm
Yeah.
adjusting my techniques to, loading on the mulch and but it's once it's in there, it can intertwine with the plants. And
Mm.
I have one garden here that's totally invaded by fescue and mint. And
Oh, that's another rough one once it gets loose in the garden.
yeah, so it looks nice now. It's blooming. Those little
Yeah.
lavender spikes,
You
but
can make a lot of mojitos, I suppose.
there you go. Um, but I'm gonna have to. I was gonna do it this spring, and I just never got around to it. But I'm gonna have to go in and just totally rip it out. And um, the main thing I have there that I love is I'm into natives and ecological gardening. So mountain mint is one of the dominant things there, and so they'll be just when I rip everything out, it's going to be disturbed. But
Mm.
I left it, and I didn't do anything in the spring, so it came up pretty much as normal. And it just down here, it's just covered with all kinds of pollinators. They're just swarming.
Oh yeah. We
Yeah.
have some at Hillwood that's in bloom now too, just full of honeybees and everything. Oh, it's just amazing. Yeah.
Are you tearing
Mhm.
out, excuse me, your mountain mint?
I'm not tearing it out. I'm gonna put it back. I'm trying to actually maybe somebody could tell me the best time to do that. I'm
Probably not now, but
no, not now. I mean, again, it's in bloom now. Why are you looking for some or
yeah, I bought 3 plants last fall, planted them, and I sited them in a place where I had this awful fern, and the ferns have sort of taken over, and I think the mountain mint might not be there yet, or still.
are those
So
ostrich ferns by any chance?
I'm sorry.
Are they ostrich ferns by any chance?
No, I forget what they are. They're awful. They're the kind that they spread and they get their roots into the ground, and you just
Yeah, ostrich
hard
are like
getting
that.
it's hard getting rid of them.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, I don't know, Jessica, where yours are, but mine are they like full sun. I mean,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So actually I have several mountain mints,
Yeah.
pycnanthium, and I think
Mhm.
I got one at the garden club, and it's off by itself, and maybe it doesn't seem to get many visitors. I don't know why, but
Ah,
it's a little bit different from the um, and I'm not sure of the species names
yeah.
on them, but
Hmm.
yeah, I would keep going, Elizabeth, because they're really fantastic.
Oh, I love them. I used to work in the volunteer in the herb garden at Meadowlark.
Hmm.
That's when I first was introduced to them.
Yeah. Did you know Keith Tomlinson there, or
Uh-huh. I was there before Keith came in.
really? Wow.
Doris, I'm trying to think of her last name now. Doris something or other was running it before Keith came.
Hmm. Yeah. I just saw him.
Yeah. Where did
He's
he
gonna-
go?
I just got an invitation for a tree seminar in Sterling. They run every year, urban arborist or something like that. And his name was on there, and it was not with Meadowlark. So he's left Meadowlark then.
Right. And I can't remember what I read about.
Yeah. Um, I could probably look up at this email. I know somebody from, I actually went to it one year, and a professor from tech was there.
Uh-huh.
Um, by the way, the reason I'm in Blacksburg is because I went to Virginia Tech, and
Oh, okay.
I retired and went back to school. And the one thing I didn't plan on is that when I was finished, and it took me a while to get my, it was a environmental science bachelor's, was that I would probably be past the age of where I could work full time. So
Mm.
it's hard to find, to break into an industry and get part-time jobs. So
Yeah.
um,
So
uh,
you live in Blacksburg now?
part-time. My partner and I have kept our house. We lived in Fairfax when I was working. We still have that house, and he's up there most of the time.
Okay.
And then I was, of course, down here for school, and I really love it. It was I bought it in 2016. It's about an acre and a quarter, minus a pipe stem driveway, which is still a lot of space. And
Right. Yeah.
um, the place in Fairfax was pretty heavily wooded, lots of shade. So when I saw this place, it had tremendous sun, and I'm like, a moth attracted the sun, or I don't know what light or something. But anyway, so I got it, and I've been again. I'm very interested in ecological gardening. I don't know whether you all know Doug Tallamy,
Uh-huh.
the
Yeah.
yeah, University of Delaware. I follow him pretty closely. There used to be a conference in Millersville, Pennsylvania, near Lancaster, a native plant conference, and he would speak there. And of course, he's doing webinars now. But anyway, so I was like, and this place was kind of mostly mowed, grass and turf, and so I started with that, and I planted a lot of trees, fought deer, voles, you name it, every critter in the book. So, um, but it's really lovely. It's quieter down here. There's less people, so I like to come down here as a um, what's the word? Refuge
There you go. Yeah.
from the hustle. And our place in Fairfax, we've been there about probably 40 years, and in that time, it's really built up and gotten, I would say, crowded. So um, that's gone downhill. This place is, it's taken the place of quietness. So
Where in Virginia, where in Northern Virginia did you used to live?
well, again, we still have the house there, and I go up there. Kind of split my time between here and there now. It's in Fairfax. It's called, the mailing address is Fairfax. It's if you know where Route 29 and the Fairfax County Parkway intersect, there's the government center is near
Oh
there,
yeah. Uh-huh. Right. Yeah.
and there's a right across from the highway from us. 29 is a Home Depot and a Costco.
Right.
Um,
Oh yeah, I know.
so and it's a lovely neighborhood because there was a creek, Piney Branch, that went through it, and they set aside, I think, about 86 acres around the creek for conservation. So we have a lot of wooded, you know, just undeveloped wooded areas around us. And then there's some property owners who have larger tracts that are wooded. And I pray every night they don't die and sell those
Yeah, right.
properties.
Oh, man.
But one person, um, there was actually a mansion built down the street from us, just very pretentious. They had it was a hair salon owner, Alexander De Paris, and he had lavender lighting, night lighting on his mansion, but he had a undeveloped wooded lot next to it, and that's been pretty much untouched. And then he sold it, and another owner came in, and they left it alone until this year. They hired people to go in and just take out all the understory, take out a lot of leaves, the leaf litter, and scratching my head like, why would you want to do that?
Yeah, right. They don't know.
Yeah. So actually, most of the people in the neighborhood are ecologically deficient. So we tried to, a couple of the neighbors who are enlightened, we tried to start a green group, and there wasn't a lot of interest. The one that I find really one property owner has an ailanthus tree or group of trees in their front yard.
Oh,
we just started seeing spotted lanternfly. So
you think maybe they'll go for it?
I would think so. I think they like the early leaves of ailanthus, So whether we've seen them on our property, but I haven't seen a lot of damage. So
I saw it looked like a young one, which I killed. I hope I'm not killing something else, but
okay. Yeah, the nymphs they're black with black and white spots. So
yeah.
Do you have any of those at Hillwood, Jessica?
Unfortunately, we've seen more this year than ever. We saw a few last year, but this year we've seen quite a bit. Yes, we also have been working to take out all our ailanthus trees. And that's an interesting tree, because if you cut it, like from what I've learned, is that if you cut it down, it will send out suckers all along the roots. And so then you end up with a whole colony. So what we've done to avoid that at Hillwood is make some cuts, like take out some chunks of the wood and then use herbicide in those wounds and take it out that way. And we actually did get rid of one by doing that. It had put out just a couple suckers and then it died.
Yeah. One thing I saw recently was, a lot of times the technique is to cut them and then to paint the stump with herbicide. But this person was just, and it might have been on it's called, I think it's called Homegrown National Park or Hometown National Park. Doug Talamy's little group. They just took I guess a sturdy piece of black plastic and cut a rectangular square enough to cover the stump and just pinned that down and on the stump, and it was enough to knock it out. So
interesting.
So we had Barkley come in. Hello, Barkley.
What is it?
She's the organizer of this event. She works hard keeping us in line. So let me go over and see how much space we're taking up on my hard drive so far. Let's see. We're up to 500 meg, so I got to figure out how to edit this. Oh wait, here's a chat.
They've changed every time they upgrade, like Zoom. It makes it harder to use. It took me forever to figure out how to turn the mute off, to unmute it.
Okay, Barkley says she does not have a microphone. So Let's
Is she
see.
saying she's not mute? She's muted?
It looks like sorry, no mic. So I'm assuming just
Not supposed
her whatever laptop or whatever she's using doesn't have a microphone. So here is somebody else.
There's Paula Simon.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
Hello, Paula.
Hello, I was on mute, sorry. Good evening.
Hello. Hello.
All right. Jessica, are you okay with people, I guess, interrupting or asking questions during your presentation? Or
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah, as long as,
okay.
yep, yeah, we'll see how that goes. Like, I don't want it to end up like to be too late for everybody, but sure.
Mm-hmm. I think we usually have a Q&A at the end, so
Maybe we should stick with that.
and also people can put questions in the chat.
Yeah, however you guys like to do it, that's fine.
Okay. Let me, now that it's almost 7:30, let me pause this. Okay, welcome everyone. I'm Pat Shea, and I am substituting for Olivia this evening for our monthly Four Seasons meeting. Tonight we have Jessica Bonilla from Hillwood, who will be discussing and showing us wonderful things about the estate there. And she is open to either questions on chat, or if you want to, at an appropriate moment, ask a question, turn your mic on and ask a question if you think it's appropriate at that time. So without further ado, Jessica.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you so much for inviting me here this evening to meet all of you and spend some time talking about Hillwood. So I'm the director of horticulture at Hillwood. I've been there about almost 16 years now. It's been an amazing adventure. I started there as a garden section manager and became director in 2020. I've always had a love of plants, and I don't know what else I would do if I was not in some kind of a part of the green industry. So, Hillwood. Hillwood is just an amazing place. We are a historic house. Our founder, our founder is Marjorie Merriweather Post. She was an amazing 20th century businesswoman, collector, and philanthropist. And so we're located in Northwest Washington, D.C., right off Connecticut, kind of in the Van Ness, UDC area. We sit on 25 acres. Half of that is manicured, more formal gardens, and half of that is woodlands. Here you can see a photo from 1965, kind of showing a little bit of the layout of the estate. So really tonight, what I'm planning on doing is kind of walking you through the grounds and then telling you a little bit about the projects that have been going on and things that have been happening. There's never a dull moment. And with gardening, that it's always ever evolving. It's a living thing, so there's always change, and that's the only thing that is really constant, is the change. So, just a little bit about the property. The house and really the gardens were developed in the 1920s. Daisy Blodgett actually built the house. She was the widow of a Michigan lumber magnate, and she built the Hillwood and built the property. At that time, it went by the name of Arbormont, actually for her daughter who was getting married, Helen. She became Helen Irwin. But Daisy didn't only buy Hillwood, she also bought a property on the other side of Rock Creek Park. That's the Rocks and is owned by the Rockefeller family. But she developed that property for her other daughter, Monica, when she was getting married as well. So it's really very interesting. And again, as the house was, being developed, of course, the gardens went along with that. And Willard Gephardt was a local landscape architect in the DC area at that time, and really kind of set the bones and the foundation of our gardens. Something that's interesting about Hillwood, I find, is that Marjorie Post was one of the most wealthiest women of her time, and she obviously had the money that she could have gone and bulldozed and raised everything down and started all over again, but she didn't do that. She must have liked what she's seen, and she built on the bones that Willard Gephardt started. So, but that doesn't mean she left it all intact. She had her own landscape architects that she worked with, really kind of to make it her own, because that's really what every new homeowner wants to do: make it feel like their own and make it comfortable for them and make it work for them. So that's what she did. So we're going to start right at the beginning in the motor court. So here on the bottom left is this kind of iconic view now that you get as you come out of the visitor center. But really, her guests would have really reached it by this curving, winding driveway up, and to get the view that you see up here on the top left there. So that's really your first view of the mansion and the property there proper. I think this entry is just fantastic, and I don't know if I know or if I've thought about this in any other way, how you can express a feeling through landscape design, right? So what Marjorie Post, she was known as a really gracious hostess. She wanted people to be there and have a good time and feel cared for. And really, that's what the center design of the motor court really does. If you look at that, the photo off to the bottom right, you'll see there is a statue in the center. That is Eros, the god of love. And he is pulling an arrow out of his quiver, going to shoot you, make you fall in love. The boxwood, that the yellowish shrubs there, they are shaped into a V shape. So just like arrowheads, so that ties into that as well. And then the English ivy swag going around it actually looks like the top of hearts. So it's this whole just really blatant design to make you, think about love and what kind of visit you're going to have. I think it's really interesting. And she was so intentional about this design. And, that's part of what my team does. We are trying to keep her vision and her ideas alive for the public today. And other people work for historic homes, and sometimes the deeper you dig into the story of the founder, the kind of sadder you get. But Marjorie Post really has never been that for me. She has really been a really shining example of what you want, a hostess to be. So this is just a great example of that.
Jessica, a question. Is
Yeah,
that the
sure.
original sculpture, the Cupid in the
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
center? Okay.
yeah, yeah, same, yeah, original.
Held up pretty well over these years.
Yes, it's a good piece for sure. And I was recently told that she actually had that at other properties. So
Hmm.
yeah, so it's been out for a while.
Okay, thank you.
So then moving to the next garden, this is the French parterre. And again, I think about how we access the gardens, from our own houses. This is just a great example of a wonderful way to do that. The French garden is actually attached to that upper center photo there of the French drawing room. So you have, if you could just imagine entertaining in there, and then, having the party spill out into your French garden, I think that's just wonderful and really kind of echoes that same kind of sentiment. You have that same feel going from outside to, from inside to outside. I just think that's really lovely. So this is a parterre garden. So you can see the shrubs there in the bottom left. That's all boxwood. It's all trained, a lot of parterres are geometric shapes, and they're often best seen from above. So right next to the photo of the French drawing room there in the center top, is the view looking down from Marjorie Post's bedroom. So really you can see how she would get up in the morning, she would get prepared in one of her sitting rooms, and she could look down on the gardens. Just a wonderful design. And then lastly there on the bottom right is Diana, the goddess of the hunt. And then two, she's very purposefully positioned as she's walking, like she's walking out of the woods, after a hunt. There's hemlocks and Japanese maples all behind her, kind of making this woodland edge. I think it's really a lot of fun.
A question on that, Jessica. The boxwood, they look very healthy. Do you have to worry about boxwood blight there at all, or?
Yes, and if you don't mind, we're going to cover that a little bit later. So
Okay.
when we planted these in 2013, this is Morrisdorf cultivar, most of it. It does have some highlights of a cultivar with a variegated leaf that's Golden Triumph, but Morrisdorf was sold to us as very boxwood blight resistant, but that is not quite as strong as they had led us to believe, but we have not had the disease in there. I think a lot of it is that people don't brush up to it as much, and I'll talk more about that as we move along. So,
okay.
But one of the things that's very common, we talk about this, at our own homes, is aging plant material that's getting overgrown, oversized for what we really need. You can see the far left photo is how Marjorie had it in the 1960s. You can see then we had some arborvitaes that were really overgrown at this point in the center photo that you couldn't even see the porch anymore. So we needed to do something about that. So we could have, arborvitaes are very, you can prune them really hard, and we could really have pruned them down, but it would have taken several years for them to recover. And just the feeling was, we are a public garden and people love to take photos in there, selfies and different, proposal shots in there. So we really couldn't have those stubs there for a long period of time. So we did the next thing you have to do then. We did removal. So we took the arborvitaes, and then there was also some Japanese holly there around the bottom, and replanted. But I certainly don't like killing plants. I don't feel that's my job. It's like a doctor, you're supposed to be helping the patients, not hurting them. So we went with cultivars now that are much smaller. So the Chamaecyparis obtusa nano luteae. So that is always going to stay between 3 and 5 feet tall. It's more a pyramidal form. I think if you look back at the historic photo in front of the French parterre there that Marjorie Post had at her time, we'll keep more of that shape for a really long period of time. So I think, we're pretty pleased with how that's all coming together. And then too, you can see in that photo, the historic photo about the azaleas in bloom. So again, you can't even tell that we had azaleas there in that center photo. So we went back and replanted with the azaleas that should be there. It's actually 2 cultivars, Hino de Giri and Snow, which are like very popular at that time. Moving on to the rose garden. So this is actually where Marjorie posts her final resting place. Her ashes are actually in the base of the monument. So she's here with us every day there. She picked that spot with her children. But really, this has been a very challenging garden. Roses in DC is very tough due all to the humidity that really sparks a lot of disease. When I started there, I joke now that there were only 3 things in that garden. There was roses, mulch, and pesticides. We were constantly spraying in there for a variety of different things, insects or black spot and downy mildew, all those wonderful things that come with roses. But we knew we could do better. We knew that was not the example that we wanted to be setting to our guests. We think about that. When I first started, we had 50,000 guests, and now we're over 110,000. So we have to be careful of what we're sharing. What do we want the public to take home with that? So we moved. We wanted to then obviously to stop spraying, but how do we stop spraying and still have a decent looking rose garden? So one of that was making a more balanced ecosystem. And that was, looking at historic photos and seeing that Marjorie Post had other ground covers there and using those to have beneficial insects, not only to just bring them in, but giving them like a habitat so they could take care of like big breakouts for other insects. So that's worked really well for us. We have not needed to spray for any kind of insects. But disease has been another issue, and I'll talk about that a second. I did want to point out, though, that these are Floribunda roses. So it's a really great landscape rose. It is a cross between a hybrid tea and a polyantha. So you get the large flowers of a hybrid tea, but then there's lots of blooms on the heads. Like the polyantha, so it's really the best of both worlds. So it's really nice rose, and those are all those cultivars there. And most of them, we were trying to make this garden really historic with that. So it was Floribundas from the 1960s or earlier. They were really produced more like 1908 or so is really when Floribundas were developed. But one of those things, they were not that worried because it was the age of chemicals and all of that. They weren't worried about disease resistance. So really, some of those roses really need a lot of bathing. They need a lot of those chemicals to keep going. So what we decided, finally, after kind of wrestling with this issue, is to stop worrying so much about the historical aspect. Who's going to want to grow roses like that in the future anyway? So if they're lost, then they're lost. and we need to bring in cultivars that are more disease resistant. And so that's what we've been doing for the last couple of years. We've been taking out the cultivars that aren't working for us and replacing. Tupelo honey is just an outstanding rose, but it grows so fast and grows so big that I think that's what it does. It just outgrows any kind of disease issues. So that has really been wonderful for us. And so is Bolera and South Africa too. Those have both been pretty good roses for us as well. So that's our plan, and that's what we'll do going forward. You know, we'll keep trying ones and finding the best for disease resistance. The next space as you walk out of the Rose Garden is the Friendship Walk and Four Seasons Overlook. So this is a garden that was really put together and gifted to Marjorie Post by her friends. They wanted to get her something, and something I didn't mention. So when she bought this property kind of in 1955, she was 68 years old. You know, she bought this intentionally with the idea to share this space and her life and the mansion with the public. So also saying with that is, you know, she was getting older. She knew what she liked, and she knew she liked gardens, and her friends knew she liked gardens. So that's what they wanted to gift her. They worked with her head gardener and Perry Wheeler, the landscape architect she worked with a lot at that time. And they designed this wonderful little pathway that then opened up kind of to an overlook. But unfortunately now the view is not what it used to be. You know, there's all houses built on the hillside. And so we've let it grow up, because a lot of our spaces, our gardens, we call them garden rooms, are really like these intimate rooms. You go from one to the next. So really it's more in keeping with the rest of the property. So here is going to talk about boxwood blight. If you saw in this last photo here on the one on the right in the middle, that there was some wonderful boxwood hedges from Marjorie Post time. And then one day we came in and just looked like it was all going to just drop dead. So boxwood blight is a fungal disease. Unfortunately, we think that somebody brought it on. You can transport it, the spores, on your clothes. And we think that somebody brought it in on their clothes. And because it started right up against the path, and the hedges were large, so, you know, it wasn't that hard to brush up against it. So what happens is that it creates black lesions on the stems. You get defoliation, and then eventually it just happens over and over again is the problem. It keeps reinfecting itself. We tried to prune it out. You can see that the plants at the end, that's over several years. It started, it wasn't so bad, and then it just became more and more, and we were doing more pruning, trying to save them, but it just didn't work. So we removed those, but we found we did exactly kind of what you're not supposed to do. They say, you know, once you have boxwood blight, you should not plant boxwood back there again. You should take out soil. You should try to do several things to remediate the soil and plant something else. But we didn't want to do that because it is a historical plant. So we looked for the most disease-resistant cultivar, and that was the New Gen Independence. And man, has that been fantastic for us. Again, you know, we put that right back in the same infected soil, and it just did really well. It has not missed a beat. So I would say if you're really missing boxwood in your life, that would be a good cultivar to try. And this one's a little more rounded. They also have one called Freedom that's a little more upright. Another thing in that area, Friendship Walk, we did is that we had Marjorie Post always had these red paths in that section of the garden. Over many years, we had been painting them, but now we have so many visitors, we just can't keep it. We just couldn't keep it safe. The paint, no matter how much grit you put into it, the paint was still slippery for the guests. So we just left it as black asphalt then the last time it was kind of redone. But we were always missing that. And how do we bring that color back again? But then also, we keep thinking about climate change and what's going on, especially in DC. We get so much flooding now from these torrential rains. It was really a good opportunity to do something different. And we came upon porous pave, which is a permeable paving material. The water actually seeps through it and goes right down into the water table instead of running off down into the drains. And then too, we could get it in this kind of reddish tone. So it really fit the bill for so many things we were trying to do. It's actually made out of recycled rubber and stone, and it's really nice to walk on. And our guests are always asking about it. So again, that's something that's worked really well for us. It covered a lot of bases. We could talk about sustainability, but then also bring back this historical aspect to the paths.
Approximately how thick is that?
It's actually pretty thin.
Really?
It's like 3 inches. Like it is just a cap. It's just a cap set on a pretty thick bed of stone. So, yeah.
Okay.
Marjorie Post was also an avid golfer. She had a putting green or a golf course at all of her properties. She golfed up to her 80s and produced a pretty good score. So we have a putting if you haven't been to Hillwood, we do have a putting green. It is super high maintenance. And it's real grass, it's bent grass on the green, and then we have a collar of tall fescue. But it has to be mowed 3 times a week during the summer. It always has disease issues at this time of year, especially on a wet July like we've been having. It's been very difficult. They're doing some reseeding right now. But man, it's certainly a high maintenance garden, but but it is fun too. And it's fun, a story to talk about. It does have some interesting plants around it. We have the Japanese snowball of viburnum are all around the edge, and it gets these cute little ball-shaped flowers that actually, when they fall off, actually look like little golf balls. So really a fun plant, but really you need a lot of room. But there are some other smaller cultivars now available. I think the one I've seen lately is called popcorn, but but very fun shrubs for sure. But the straight one there, you need a lot of space.
Does anyone actually use the putting green or do you let them?
For special, we have some special events. We do some Girl Scout badges and for over several weekends, and for one of them they use it there. We've also used it for our staff picnic as a bonus for everybody. So there's small things here and there, but not on a daily. We actually had people come and bring putters and want to putt on the putting green. That is not allowed. We have enough trouble taking care of it. We don't need that. And here I wanted to say, just outside of the putting green is a really good example of how we're managing the gardens on a yearly basis. Every year we kind of identify and signify a spot for restoration. We have a lot of invasive ground covers because, the gardens were from the 1950s, 60s. That was not something, this is not a negative thing to say about, people at that time, but, they didn't know some of the consequences of some of the plants they were bringing in, like English ivy, just running rampant everywhere. So that's what that bed is up at the top, just full of English ivy. And then that's what we're doing. We're kind of changing all the planting, taking that out and planting a more diverse plant palette. And here you can see some of our favorites. The top three are for shade. There are several phlox that are really wonderful, more shade tolerant ground covers that you can use. We like all of those. Stolonifera more spreads more along the ground. Divaricata is a little more clumping, upright, but still, you know, even in flower, they're not getting more than about 10 inches tall. And then also we love brandywine, the cultivar of foam flower. It gets in the spring these wonderful little tufts of white flowers, but brandywine in particular, we've had really good success with at Hillwood, spreading and filling in. It's really been a winner for us. The bottom three are more sun. We like the fleabane, the Lynnhaven carpet. If you know, fleabane often seeds itself different places, but this is a more compact cultivar, gets about a foot and a half tall. Again, a spring bloomer with those little nice little white daisy-like flowers. Another, a little early summer, late spring, the threadleaf coreopsis. Zagreb is another cultivar that we like as well. Again, really brightens up an area. Again, you're looking about foot and a half tall. And then really, I think nearly every garden should have the Phlox paniculata Jenna. That is much more tall. That's taller. You know, you're getting more to 4 feet, 4.5, sometimes even 5. Wonderful phlox, more of that, you know, traditional garden phlox, but maybe the heads aren't quite as dense. But the wonderful thing about that is it's very powdery, mildew resistant. So that is a big plus for that plant. And it really attracts lots of eastern tiger swallowtail butterflies. We see them all the time on them. So really some good plants to think about for your own garden.
Jessica, do you have to worry about deer pressure at all, or are you fencing them out, or?
Very great question. Fortunately, we do not get deer very often. We do have the whole property fenced. And when they do get in, a lot of times they're looking to get out, except for last year where they parked themselves in the cutting garden in a manner, and we're very content to eat everything there. But we have a gate in the corner of one of our fences, and we kind of act like cowboys and try to push them back out into Rock Creek Park, because there are a lot of deer, you know, in Rock Creek Park.
Yeah,
so
that's what I thought.
we're very fortunate not to have to deal with that too often.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to just show you this picture because, you know, we worry about azaleas because we are a very heavy spring and fall garden with lots of azaleas, and we often worry about that they're not regenerating the way they should. But here, this is I think a great example of taking out English ivy and what happens at the base of the shrubs in the following year or so. All this growth just pops up, and really just is a good reminder for me and for all of us to think about how ground covers really can influence the health of our shrubs. You know, it's just not on the ground, it's also like in and on the plants. So two, you know, these are not just running wild in the gardens. They've escaped. They're out in our woodlands again as well. Again, as I mentioned, half of our property are woodlands. And so really we've really taken the battle to the English ivy. We have a wonderful group of, we call them woodland stewards. It's a volunteer program where they come out once a week, and they are so tough and hard. They come out, and you have to tell them to stay home because when it's too hot. They're just fantastic. But they're out there every Thursday removing English ivy in our woodlands. And then, so in most of the areas, because it is a large expanse, we're seeing what comes up on its own, but then we are creating some hot spots as well, with the idea if we can bring in some local ecotype native plants and add them to the garden, to some of these spaces in the woodlands where they're pulling out the English ivy, it'll really help spur seed production, and they can spread that way. Here you can see we just that one there on the left that has 31 different species of plants. Here's just a couple that I find interesting. Pat was talking about the mountain mint. So yes, we planted some mountain mint in there. Also, one of our biggest problems is for invasives is the winged euonymus, the one that turns bright red in the fall. It is lovely, but it's a terrible plant. And that's what we spend a lot of time trying to manage that in the woodlands. But there is a euonymus that is native, the strawberry bush. So that's always fun to think about too. And we have that these all work really well in the shade. So, there are other things that we can use instead of some of these invasives. And
that's
then
also the strawberry bush is also known as hearts of Buston. So
yes.
You didn't know that. But.
Yep, you can see, and you can see why that is right there in that
yes.
photo. Yep. And then too, there's even goldenrod that does well in the shade too. So you can keep that in mind. The Solidago cassia there's a couple other ones too that make an interesting addition to a shade garden. So we do also, when we're taking this out, one thing that English ivy does is controls erosion, right? It makes this big mat, so you're not losing soil. But so we have to keep that in mind when we're taking out the English ivy. So we are going back and planting for some erosion control. And here's some that we like a lot for this situation. There's several different carex that work well. When you see the second photo, the Christmas fern. When you see Christmas fern and whitewood aster, that's exactly the kind of situation they're often in. They're really tolerant of erosion, the soil washing away. That's really kind of their wheelhouse. So we wanted to put those in, and then too. The columbine there, that seeds in and fills in, and again is very happy in this kind of situation. And a lot of plants aren't. A lot of plants don't like that wearing away of the soil and won't hold the soil because of it. We do other, I've shown you some that really were based on more removing invasives, but we do also do some other changes around the property when we see fit. So like here, this is at the cafe. One of the things we wanted to do was we have a seasonal display that runs along the edge of that stone wall. So we wanted to carry that all the way to the end where we hadn't had it before. So it had a little more continuity, thinking about design there. A lot of time, what was there before is some Deutzia and boxwood originally. And really through the summer where people are sitting out at the cafe in those chairs that you see, it wasn't all that pretty in that corner. So we wanted things that, would fill in and make a little difference and look a little different. So some of the things that we used in that was oak leaf hydrangea. Believe it or not, you know, we often kind of think that is a more shade plant, but it's very sun tolerant. And we have been using one called Munchkin, which is really a dwarf. It really, it gets about 3 feet tall. We've had some planted in another spot, actually on the other side of the cafe. Oh, now for, I would say, about 8 years, and it is still really that size. You know, so many things you buy as a dwarf and then it ends up not to be. So that's a great one. So that, and then we put in some summer sweet. The hummingbird is also a wonderful cultivar. If you're not familiar with that, it gets those white flowers in summer. Again, not a really big shrub, maybe, you know, getting to 3 feet tall. So really kind of that was making kind of the background of this. And this is, so what we were seeing in this photo, that was right after planting last year. And then this is what it looked like at the right now. So you can see it really all filled in really fast. And then too, we had put in some in the forefront there, some other perennials that really are more spring interest, while the kind of the annual display is kind of picking up. But we love the crested iris, Iris bristata. It really stays short with these lance-like leaves. This kind of lavender blue flower blooms are, you know, earlier. We're talking more like April, early April. And then some nodding onion, and those are just coming on now, actually. There's lots of different alliums. Sometimes we only think of, you know, the big stalks with the big purple heads, but there's a lot of different onions that are very interesting. Millennial is another one that we use a lot in the garden. So, and then two, I'm sorry.
The question, do you have your own greenhouses there, or do you mostly purchase your plant material?
Oh, we purchase most of our plant material, but we do have a greenhouse. We have a small section that does we do a lot for this, our spring display. We have annual displays that really rotate. So we do a spring show that quickly turns into summer. Then really that goes in from the beginning of May till September. And then we'll do a chrysanthemum change out. So right now, Jarrett, who's our greenhouse grower, is really focused on specialty mums. So yeah, a lot of plants, like again, he'll grow nearly 75% of our spring display, which is nearly 4,000 plants or so. He does a little less in the summer just because of space, and he's growing plants for the cutting garden. We haven't gotten a whole lot into producing our own, you know, shrubs, trees and shrubs. But that's always something we're thinking about. And we've started some little things, but that's not been a big focus.
Do you produce cutting flowers for indoors inside the mansion?
Yes, yes. And you will see in just a few minutes our cutting garden. Yes. So here is another little planting project out in front of the lower visitor center. We wanted to do a change out. You can see that the boxwood was swallowing the benches. It wasn't very attractive most of the time. Between plantings, when you didn't have the annual display there, or it wasn't filled in yet, the boxwood had kind of like those naked knees, wasn't very pleasant. So we did this new planting again, and you can see this was just from last year when it was first redone, and then you can see what the planting looked like just, you know, a few days ago. And it's really filled in really well. And this space does not get a lot of sun. I was a little concerned about the arborvitae there, but the gentleman who designed this, Marshall Paquin, one of our garden section managers, did his research and felt this was a good suggestion for that area. So you can see how wonderful they're really doing very well, because again, this is pretty shaded. It stays pretty wet, and these plants are really loving it. So, and in between those arborvitae are some camellia, Yuletide, and Shishigashira. Again, man, they have been blooming. It's a fall blooming camellia, and they really bloomed for a long time. They were like still blooming in December, like, mid-December. So it was quite something. And then, just some perennials there too to fill in and kind of make that tiered planting there. We used some Bernera, Jack Frost. You can see that right in the kind of the forefront, mixed in with some golden Tierra hosta. So back to the gardens, then moving to our largest kind of entertaining area, and Marjorie Post's largest entertaining area was the lunar lawn. She would often have garden parties out there. She would even have a special garden party for soldiers that would be brought from Walter Reed there. We keep up that tradition. That is the photo on the right to the bottom is our gala this past year. It's our largest fundraiser. We'll put up a tent and it'll seat about 400 there. It's really a wonderful evening for everybody, but just a great space for people to enjoy. Every day people can picnic out there. The lawn, we've embraced the whole idea of a freedom lawn, so we don't spray pesticides on our lawn. And we actually have a lot of clover in there. We call it, it's a little more of that. I was told it's a little more European, so which would fit into what Marjorie Post likes. So, but this was a big traumatic experience last fall. I was going to share with you. Right out there on the lunar lawn, we have American elm trees that go across the front. And we had one that was in decline, but we were waiting till January when we're closed to the public to take it down, but it didn't last that long. And actually it came down on a beautiful October Saturday. And we are so fortunate that nobody was hurt. It was just crazy. And also none of the statuary was hurt either. So that's like a plus on top of it. Everything pretty much was unscathed. There was a table and a chair that took the brunt of it. But man, that's fine. It took our contractors 2 days to take that tree down. First, they brought a 60-ton crane and did a lot of the light work. They actually craned it out from over top of the French parterre to our motor court area. And then the next day, they brought a 110-ton crane to work on the trunk. And the crane in that center photo is actually holding up the trunk while the gentleman is cutting chunks off of it. It was quite traumatic for everybody.
You know how old the tree was by any chance?
Yeah, so that one in particular, I would say, well, we were thinking that Marjorie Post actually had that tree transplanted, and it was a large tree at that point. So in the 60s, it was probably a 20-year-old tree probably to begin with. And so, we were getting close, probably to 80 years for that tree, I would say. And yeah, well, and I'll continue that story in a second. But here's kind of some of the damage. It broke down the trellis and the French parterre. It changed the beds, obviously, there on the right around our Sphinx statues. It took out, I think, I'll show it to you in a minute. It took out half that cherry tree right behind the Sphinx statue on the left is a cherry tree. It was wonderful. It's a wonderful double flowering cherry. Took out half of that. So now we're all faced with how to restore this garden. So unfortunately, it's been very difficult to find the materials or the people to work on that fence. So that's an ongoing thing that we're working on. And hopefully between this fall and beginning of next year, we'll get that taken care of. But right now we have false ivy kind of to close that in and keep it kind of the closed off space that we have. Outside, again, we needed to redo the beds. So one of the things, we took the opportunity to remove the English ivy that had been around the Sphinx ladies. So we did that. And one of our favorite things to a native to replace English ivy is the barren strawberry, the Walsinia fragannoides. It's really a great plant. It fills in, it stays evergreen through the year. It makes this mat like you would expect from English ivy. It has like rounder leaves, and it does have the benefit that it gets little yellow flowers in the spring. Even though barren strawberries in the name, it does not put on strawberries, but we've found that it's a really good replacement for ivy. So we redid the beds with that. And now we're looking at what elms to replace it. So, because we want to keep, obviously we're a historic garden, we want to keep with American elms there. What we would like to do, and you might find this drastic, but there's still 3 remaining elms across the front, and we would like to remove all of them. The one large one there is also in decline. So we're working with DC to the urban forestry to let us take that down. The other ones, the 2 smaller ones on the right of the front of the mansion, are actually Princeton elms. And what we've discovered, those were actually planted in 2009. And what we discovered is they're not very disease resistant, and they get a lot of disease down into the tight crotches of the branches. So what we want to do is replace it with a Jefferson elm. And here you can see on the right, both the branching pattern of Jefferson and the Princeton. The Princeton being those tight crotches on the right, where the Jefferson is a more open branching, has stronger branches, less chance of disease. So, we'll see, what happens moving forward, but that's kind of the idea. And then we can get back to also having, 4 trees all across the front that are the same size. The cherry tree, we discussed it, and we didn't want to take it down. We thought it would get a lot of growth. That the side that was broken faces south, so we knew there was going to be a lot of developing branches on that side. We thought it would take longer to put a new tree in and have it develop into the size of this one. And you can see all the new growth that's on that tree. Now we'll go through and kind of select which branches we want to keep and have those develop into that whole side of the tree. Moving on, we also have a Japanese style garden that's really beloved. It's one of our visitors' favorite gardens. Marjorie Post had an Asian inspired garden there, but again, she made it her own. She hired Shogo Maeda, which is a wonderful landscape architect, who brought, the Japanese influences to the garden. It's a Japanese style garden because it really is a mix of English or American and Japanese cultures together. It's really special. So please, if you get to Hillwood, that's definitely a stop you need to make. We also, here's the cutting garden. So Marjorie Post put in her will that she would like to have fresh flowers in the house even after her passing. So really all the cut flowers in the arrangements between May and September come from this garden. You can see that's how it was in Marjorie Post's time, and that's how it is today. This is also an organically grown garden. You can see here, we used to do it very more agricultural style with just long rows of one crop. But now we do it with the mixed planting, because what we found is that we had a lot of insect issues with that. And even though it looks beautiful right there, the disease issues would really make it difficult to grow plants. And you would end up spraying. You would have insects that they would start at one end of the row and work their way to the other. Where this now our style is I hate to use the term prairie because it's not prairie, but it is a much more mixed planting. So it provides habitat for good bugs, and the bad bugs have to hunt a little more for the plants that they like. And we have so much wildlife that's in there. You can see that I took the picture of that hummingbird. Like, these are all pictures from the garden. We have wonderful different sets of American goldfinch in there. It's just alive with activity where it wasn't like that at one point. And we're always evaluating our horticulture practices. We don't deadhead as much as we did before, because we do love to see the goldfinches taking advantage of all the seed heads. We delay our fall cleanup as well now. Sometimes, it's an interesting balance between leaving stuff up and then being a public garden. But there's so many beneficial insects and bees and things that overwinter in stems of perennials. So we just want to leave them up as much as we can, because we want those insects to come out and come into the garden. And then, of course, leaving the leaves, that's important. We've really reduced the amount of mulch that we use in the garden now. But I should say, we just use the leaves as mulch. We don't bring in, again, as much mulch as we used to. It's protecting the soil over winter. It's giving, wildlife a place to hide and get through the winter. Two, we have a greenhouse. Marjorie Post loved orchids, and she developed a collection of over 2,000 orchid and tropical plants. And so this is where she took care of them. That's also something now that we raise organically. We treat any insects issues with beneficial insects. We actually buy them. They come in little tubes that you release in the greenhouses. They work. You can see that that one is an aphid that's been parasitized. We use OMRI products, and one that we even brew our own compost tea too. We do a lot of composting on site, and we have vermicomposting, which is all done with worms. So but the compost tea has worked really well on things like powdery mildew.
Is that part of your tours? Do you explain that to the public also? What
practices? We try to work that into garden. We do a lot of training with our garden docents. We have garden docents that lead a lot of tours, and they are well versed in our practices, and we try to keep everybody up to date. So yeah,
great.
And then a historic garden does not get to add gardens very often, but we actually built a building underneath our parking deck because we did not have enough space in certain areas. So that's leading to like a domino effect that actually eventually will have an extra gallery in the mansion. But so we were deciding on what kind of garden to put, and we wanted to do a native garden. And here you can see we had some project goals we wanted to do. We wanted this to be a space where we can discuss our initiatives. We wanted to have a lot of natives and nativars, but also this is a little more accessible because these are more plants that you're likely to find in garden centers. Still, garden centers are not keeping up with the demand or interest in natives. But these were some more that might be more easy to find. We wanted to replace the tree canopy that was lost in this space, not just only from the construction, but just this area was almost all just invasives anyway. So, and just, creating habitat. So it's been a great addition to the property. We have a couple other little spaces too that are fun to find. We have a dog cemetery. Marjorie Post always had dogs in her family as well. She actually has showed her granddaughter shows dogs. We have a woodland path that Marjorie Post often used to take. And then, just paths between the gardens, between those major garden rooms. We try to keep those interesting as well. And then exhibitions, we always have some rolling exhibitions. We have 2 exhibition houses, the Adirondack and the Dacha. We have one in one. Usually the summer one is in the Adirondack and the winter one is in the Dacha. And right now we have Exile to Avant-Garde. It's Natalie Pele. It has such an interesting life. She was the daughter of a Grand Duke from Russia who was exiled, and then they came back, but came back just in time for the revolution and her father and her brother to be killed. And so then it ended up in exile again. Really interesting story. But then she was a model, and she was also an actress, and she lived also in Connecticut and New York towards the end of her life. So super interesting. So if you get to see that, so I want to thank you so much, and I am happy. I know it's getting a little long, but happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jessica. Yeah, fascinating information and
Yay.
pictures and everything. And, glad to see you're doing green practices.
Yeah, it's
Very
really
encouraging.
Yay!
And if anyone has a question they want to put in the chat or just microphone. Barclay says, is there really a fallout shelter?
There are multiple fallout shelters. Yes. She wanted to be safe, and she actually had a lot of staff living there as well. So she wanted them to be safe. So there's one over by the cafe. There's actually one that's all pink in the mansion. And there was there's 2 other ones. One has been kind of lost to time. Has never quite found it, but yeah, and one almost at the entrance. So yeah. So fun.
Okay.
Well,
All right.
I was going to ask a little bit more about, I know she loved azaleas and a little bit more about the azalea collection, or if it's all the original azaleas or bringing in new plants, or how that's being curated.
Great question. Yes. So yeah, some are original, but then a lot are, we just want to keep that collection growing and going as well. So again, something that's really makes our lives easier, that Marjorie Post wasn't this really strong plant person where she wasn't like Washington, like taking notes, right? So we go by photos when we need to upgrade a section or something, because we need to keep it to look like it was. But again, we're not stuck to a plant palette, but azaleas were super important to the design of Hillwood. So yes, we have some old ones, and we try to think about the older cultivars as well. Like I mentioned, Daguerre and Snow are really important plants there, so we can still find them. So that's great, and we try to incorporate them. But yes, we're always adding more. But we haven't gone the route of like encores or any of that. These are just traditional, spring blooming azaleas.
Do you have any native azaleas?
Yes, and we've been adding more of those as we go along. Yeah, we have we have a bunch down in the native garden, but there are some spots of them too, even in the more formal gardens.
Yeah, they have the fragrance, which I don't believe the Asians do. So yeah, that's a big plus there. Barclay asked, how many garden staff and how many volunteers?
Great question. Yeah. So when we're fully staffed, we have 14, and I would say about 10 of those are out in the garden nearly every day. So they're the ones really taking care of the gardens. The other three are more, well, we have a full-time floral designer. We have two that are inside the greenhouse working with the orchids, and then also our greenhouse grower. And then I'm pretty much, yeah, getting to be more administrative than anything. So, and then volunteers, we live and die by our volunteers. We have wonderful core, almost 100. They come out in various different roles. Some are out there, you know, pulling the weeds in the gardens. As I mentioned, we have the woodland stewards. We also have a group that goes around and inventories our birds. Yeah, so there's a lot of different facets in the greenhouse, all different, and we love them, and I couldn't do it without them.
Did she leave a foundation or something to finance the operations? I know you said you had a fundraiser.
Yeah.
So apparently it's a mix, maybe, or
Yeah. So, you know, Marjorie Post, again, she was really this amazing businesswoman and thinker. So originally she was going to leave it to the Smithsonian, um, but she had put it in her will that the Smithsonian had to have it have it open to the public in a certain amount of years. They realized that they didn't want, they couldn't, and they really weren't that interested in trying to make that work. So it actually reverted back to the family, and Marjorie Post had a plan B. If they didn't want to do that, she had a foundation set up then it reverted to with this really wonderful nest egg that really still is how it runs, you know, still runs like that with that. So, but now we're a nonprofit. So things have changed over time, but still we do draw from that original nest eggs.
Barclay also asked, is there an archive of the older plant lists?
You know, no. If you can believe that, we're not sure where those designs. We have only designs really for the Japanese style garden. The rest of it has been lost over time. So there isn't. That's really why the historic photos we have are so important. And that's what we go by and make decisions based on that.
And Elizabeth asked, are the old and new boxwoods English?
Yeah, no, the old boxwoods were, and that they are so susceptible to boxwood blight. The new ones are not. It's microphylla is the species for that. So yeah, yeah, they're not English, and I don't know unless somebody does. I mean, you know, maybe they'll do more breeding down the line and be able to breed disease resistance in, but right now that's not for English boxwood.
Okay. Okay. Any other queries? All right. Well, thank you so much, Jessica. It's been fascinating, and it certainly made me want to visit as soon as I can. So I hope to be there. Does anybody remember? It seems to me that Four Seasons visited Hillwood like 15 or 20 years ago. I've been around long enough. Pardon me?
A long time ago. Long time ago.
We did go?
I think so, but it would have been, like you said, at least 15 years.
Yeah. Okay. So
sounds like it's time to visit.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Have another trip.
Yeah.
So for groups, do you have a place to talk to somebody there, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can reach out to me and I can get you. Yeah, if you're just happy to help. Yeah.
Right, great. So, and thanks to Barclay and who arranged the talk tonight. And I think, Doug said, I remember a tour in the greenhouse.
With Jason, that was with Silver Spring Garden Club.
Oh, that was Silver Spring. Okay.
Jason Godike was in charge of the orchids.
I remember going into the greenhouse. So
Mhm. There was still a lot of there's a lot of cross membership with the club, so
Mhm. Yeah,
yeah. They were definitely past due for a Four Seasons Garden Club visit for sure.
definitely gotta get there. So okay, well, again, we appreciate your presentation, Jessica, and
Pleasure.
this will be posted. The recording of this will be posted on our YouTube channel within a couple days. So thanks for joining us. And with that, we conclude. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.